Have you ever sat in a room where everything looked exactly as it should and still felt something was missing? Nothing is wrong. Nothing is broken. The light is there. The space is there. Even the person next to you is still there. So why does something inside you feel so far away? Is it them? Or is it something inside you that quietly stopped arriving? How long have you been in the same life, but not fully inside it? You still speak. You still respond. You still smile when needed. But if you're honest, when was the last time you felt completely here? Not thinking, not performing, not adjusting, just here. And maybe this is the part no one talks about. How can you be with someone and still feel this alone? And deeper than that, what is this feeling really trying to show you? There are moments, very small, like dust in the light, but they stay. Morning, you sit quietly, holding your breath like something fragile. The room is still, but from somewhere, a screen lights up, a voice fills the air, the silence breaks. At dinner, you sit across from someone you once felt close to. Your hands are there, their hands are there, but the space is not the same. You want to reach just a little, but something inside you already knows you won't arrive at the same place. From the outside, the room still looks whole. Nothing is broken. No one is shouting. But inside, the air has changed. You are here, like someone standing in the light, beginning to see everything clearly. And they are there, like someone moving in the shadows, not ready to look. And slowly, without words, two different ways of being begin to live in the same space. One part of you turns toward the light. You sit, you feel, you stay, even when it's uncomfortable. You are learning to see, and the other turns away, fills the space, avoids the quiet, keeps moving, not wrong, just not ready to stop. And so, in the same room, one is opening and one is closing, and maybe both are just trying to survive in the only way they know. And this is where the loneliness begins, not because no one is there, but because no one meets you where you are now. It shows up in the pauses, in the moments you almost speak, and then don't, because something inside you whispers, they won't hear this. And underneath, a quieter ache. Did I go too far? Did I change too much? Was I easier to love before I started seeing? And here, you need to hear this clearly. You are not wrong for waking up. The distance you feel is not the absence of love. It is the absence of meeting in the same light. Because this is not about effort. You tried. You spoke. You reached. But what you are feeling is not a lack of trying. It is like two waves moving through the same space, but not touching. You are here, slowing down, feeling, becoming still. And they are there, moving faster, filling, escaping. And no matter how close you stand, the waves do not meet. And maybe this is the first time. You see, nothing is broken, but something is no longer in the same rhythm. It's like two radios in the same room. One is playing something soft, clear, quiet. You can hear every detail. And the other is playing noise. Louder, scattered, always moving. Both are working. Nothing is wrong. But no matter how close they are not hearing the same thing. And what you feel is not rejection. It is not a lack of love. It is simply this. You are listening to a different frequency. And in that moment, you begin to see you are living in two different worlds, inside the same relationship. And here, there is something very important that most people miss. The signal can change. The radio playing noise is not broken. It is just not tuned yet. And one day, it might turn. It might catch a clearer sound. It might slow down enough to hear what was always there. But this turning does not happen because you try harder. It happens when the one holding the radio is ready to listen. But when you don't see this clearly, you begin to lean forward, just a little more. You speak softer, you try again, you adjust your words, like turning a dial, hoping to catch their signal. And for a while, it feels like you are close, almost there. But slowly, something inside you starts to sink, like standing in water, that is gently pulling you down, not strong enough to scare you, but enough to tire you. And the more you reach, the deeper your feet leave the ground. And still, there is truth in what you feel. The signal can change. Clarity is always possible, even in the noisiest mind. There is a moment when everything goes quiet, a small opening where something real can be heard, but that moment cannot be created from the outside. You cannot enter someone else's inner room and turn on the light for them. And every time you try, you step further away from your own. So the possibility is real, but it is not in your hands. It lives in their timing, their readiness, their moment of stopping, and until that moment, no amount of love, no amount of patience can replace that turning. And something in you begins to soften, not as defeat, but as clarity. You stop pushing against the current because you see the current was never yours to control. And when that becomes clear, something very quiet happens. The energy that was reaching begins to come back, like water returning to its source. Not forced, not sudden, just naturally flowing back to where it belongs. Your breath, your body, your presence. And for the first time, you're no longer standing in between two worlds. Not theirs, not who you wish they would become. Just here, standing on your own ground. And only now, you begin to see what was happening all along. You were trying to lift them, while slowly you were being pulled. Not suddenly, not violently, just a quiet downward drift, like standing in water, holding someone up, while your own body loses balance, and at first you don't notice. Because love feels like holding, but over time, something in you grows tired, not loudly, not dramatically, just a weight that stays. And now you can finally see. You were not failing, you were just standing in a current that was not moving in the same direction. And maybe This is the moment something becomes impossible to ignore. Not in your mind, but in your body, like standing on a mountain path and suddenly realizing you and the person beside you are no longer on the same level of ground. You are moving upward, slowly, learning to stop, to feel, to see. And they are still walking below, where everything moves faster, louder, less still. And no matter how far you reach, you cannot lift someone to a place they have not chosen to climb toward. And slowly, something very simple reveals itself. You cannot raise someone into awareness if they are not ready to rise. And seeing this is not giving up. It is not abandoning them. It is not losing compassion. It is standing in reality without trying to reshape it. And in that seeing, something inside you softens, like a hand that has been holding tightly, finally loosening. And for the first time, you step out from the space between who they are and who you wish they could be. And here, something begins to change. Not outside, but inside you, because compassion is not what you thought it was. It is not standing on a higher ground and pulling someone up while losing your own balance. It is not staying in a place that slowly wears you down. And maybe, for the first time, you begin to see that staying and suffering are not the same as loving. And then a question arises, very quietly, like wind moving across the mountain. Are you trying to help them climb, or are you trying to avoid seeing that you are no longer standing in the same place? Because sometimes what we call love is holding on from fear, fear of being alone, fear of stepping forward without them. And so we stay, not from clarity, but from hesitation. And just letting this question exist opens something, a space where truth can finally be seen. And in that space, something very gentle forms, a boundary, not a wall, not distance, but like standing firmly on your own ground without stepping down to meet someone in a place you have already moved beyond. You are still open, still kind, but you no longer walk into spaces that pull you away from yourself. You don't pretend to be okay when something inside is not, and quietly you begin to stand with yourself. Because in the end, you don't need to pull them into the light. You only need to not step away from your own. And this is not a decision you need to make right now. You don't have to leave. You don't have to stay. You don't have to know anything yet. Just this. Can you remain on your own ground without stepping back into a place you have already outgrown? And maybe this is where everything begins to shift. And as you remain, something very subtle becomes visible. Not a problem, not something to fix, just a quiet wearing, like standing on a slope for a long time. There is a slight tiredness in the body, a small pull downward that was always there, but never fully seen. And nothing here needs to be judged, nothing needs to be changed, just noticed as it is. And as you stay with this, it begins to feel like standing in a river, not a strong current, but two gentle flows, moving in different directions. One part of you, moving forward, toward clarity, toward something more real, and another part pulling sideways, into noise, into distraction, into something that does not want to feel. And when you stand there, you can feel it in your body. Not pain, just a subtle tension, like water moving against itself. And maybe this is what you are experiencing. Not conflict, just two currents that no longer flow together. And over time, this changes how you move. You begin to speak less, like someone who used to swim, but now just stands still in the water. Not because you forgot how, but because the current no longer supports your direction. There is a quiet imbalance. One part leaning forward, another part holding back. And sometimes, small questions rise to the surface, like ripples. Is this too much? Am I asking for something that isn't here? And nothing here is wrong. This is not failure. It is simply a system trying to find its balance in two different flows. And then something becomes very clear. If two currents keep moving apart, there are only two ways the body responds. You either stop resisting and let yourself be carried by the weaker flow, slowly lowering to match what is there, or you stop moving outward and begin to stand still, anchoring inside yourself, so you are not pulled away from who you are becoming. And both have a cost, not as punishment, but as direction. And now, you are no longer standing blindly in the water. You are feeling the current, and you are seeing what it is doing to you. And if nothing changes, the river keeps flowing this way. There is no crash, no sudden break, just a direction that continues. You still wake up in the same place, still move through the same day. From the outside, everything looks intact, but inside, you are no longer standing in the same stream. Not because something ended, but because you are no longer flowing together. And this is not a tragedy. It is simply what happens when two currents stop meeting at the same point. And from here, the water begins to move in different ways. Sometimes it becomes still, almost too still, like a surface that no longer reflects clearly. Feeling fades, not painfully, just quietly. Other times, something underneath rises suddenly, like a wave that has been building for too long. Not new, just finally visible. And sometimes there is another shift, not outward, but inward, like stepping out of the current while still standing in the river. No longer pushing, no longer reaching, just withdrawing the effort to swim. And none of these are choices. They are responses to the water you are in. And slowly, you begin to see there is a part of you that keeps the river from breaking. You hold the direction, you keep the movement going, you maintain what is shared, even when it is no longer fully mutual. And this comes from care, from responsibility, from love, in the way you know it. But at the same time, there is something you begin to feel, like standing in water, longer than your body naturally would. Not painful, but present. And now, you are noticing what it takes to remain there. And in that noticing, something deep becomes clear. There is an energy being used to stay in this current. not as loss, but as movement, your attention, your presence, your life force, holding something that is no longer flowing equally from both sides. And this is not something to fear. It is simply something to see, like realizing how long you have been standing in the water without stepping out. And now, for the first time, you're not looking away from that. And from here, the question softens. Not, do I leave or do I stay, but something much quieter. Can I stand here without losing my balance? Because maybe the real shift is not about changing the river. It is about no longer being pulled away from yourself by it. You stop trying to redirect the current, not because you don't care, but because you are no longer fighting what is already flowing. And slowly, your energy returns to where it belongs, to you. And in that returning, it feels like sitting by a lake at dusk. At first, the surface looks empty, still, quiet, almost too quiet, and something in you wants to leave, to fill it, to move, to hear something again. But if you stay just a little longer, without throwing anything into the water, you begin to notice the surface is not empty. It is clear, and in that stillness, everything that was hidden becomes visible. The depth, the reflection, the sky inside the water. And maybe this is the difference. Loneliness is the need to throw something into the lake, so you don't feel the silence. But this stillness, needs nothing. And as you remain with that lake, a deeper understanding begins to settle. You realize you were never missing something. You were just not staying long enough to see what was already there. And something inside you lets go. Not of love, but of holding. Not of connection, but of needing it to look a certain way. Love becomes quieter, wider, less grasping, like the sky above the water. Present, without needing to touch everything below. And in that, something loosens. The need to be completed, the need to be met, the need to be seen, exactly as you imagined. And what remains is something softer, but also much more real. And from here, freedom does not arrive as a feeling. It arrives as a quiet absence of something that used to hold you. You're no longer waiting for someone to step into your world, to make it whole. Because you have seen, the lake was always whole. Even when no one was there, you can sit beside someone or sit alone, and the water remains the same. Still, clear, undisturbed. And maybe this is what freedom is. Not leaving, not staying, but no longer being pulled by either. And slowly, you stop trying to change the water. You stop trying to make it move or reflect something else. You allow it to be exactly what it is. And in that allowing, something inside you comes into place, like your body finally standing in its own center. No leaning forward, no holding back, just balanced, aligned with what is real. There is no effort in this, no forcing, no becoming, just a quiet recognition that you are already where you are. And in this state, you are still by the same lake. Nothing outside has changed, the same sky, the same water, the same world. but something in how you see has shifted. The surface may move, but you are no longer following every ripple. You can watch without stepping in. You can feel without being pulled under. And this is not distance. This is depth. You are no longer on the surface of your experience. You are resting in something that does not move with every wave. And from that depth, everything begins to feel lighter. Not because life became easier, but because you are no longer carrying it the same way. The waves still come, the wind still touches the surface, but the lake remains. You see things as they are, without adding fear or holding on to what should be, and slowly the need for a certain outcome fades. They may change, they may not, and for the first time, both are allowed to exist without disturbing your stillness. Because when you are aligned with yourself, you no longer need the surface to be calm, to feel at peace. The wind can move, the water can shift, but you are no longer depending on that to be okay. And this is not detachment, it is not stepping away, it is being rooted in something deeper than what changes, and in that, everything becomes very simple. You are here, you are aware, and that does not leave you. And maybe this is the moment everything turns. Being alone no longer feels like standing beside an empty lake. It feels like sitting with something vast that has always been there. The silence is no longer something to escape. It becomes something that holds you, like the water holding the sky without effort. And from here, you are no longer waiting for someone to arrive to complete this space, because you can see it was never incomplete. You were just not resting in it, and now you are. Now, you don't need to understand anything more. You don't need to decide what to do next. For this moment, nothing needs to be solved. If you'd like, you can gently place your hand on your chest. No special way, no right position, just resting. And see if you can feel what is already there. A movement, very quiet, very steady, that has been with you this whole time. You don't have to focus harder. You don't have to feel more. Just notice that something is already moving. Your heart beating on its own, not because you made it, not because you controlled it. It is simply happening. And for a moment, you can let yourself rest with that. You don't need answers tonight. You don't need to fix this relationship. You don't need to know where this is going. Just this Can you stay with yourself right here and feel this quiet rhythm that does not leave you even when everything else feels uncertain? Your heart is still here, still beating for you, and maybe for now, that is enough.
We're still sitting at the same table, same cups, same light. You ask me something, I answer softly, but nothing really arrives. There's a space between our voices, no one says it, but it's there, not loud, not breaking, just a silence we both wear. And I tried to reach you in ways you could feel, but somewhere along the way I stopped being real. I'm still sitting next to you, but I don't feel seen. Not because you don't love me, but you're not where I've been. You're filling up the quiet, I'm falling through it slow. Same room, same breathing, but two different souls. And maybe I'm not losing you, maybe I just lost me, trying to stay beside you and who I used to be. You turn on the music, I sit with the feeling. You laugh at something I don't even hear, and I don't blame you, I really don't blame you. We're just not standing here. You're trying to forget, I'm trying to remember something deeper I can't ignore. And the more I stay, the less I can find who I was before. quietly true. I'm not really with you, and you're not with me too. I'm still sitting next to you, but I feel alone. Not because you left me, but I came back home. Back to something softer, back to something real, where I don't need your silence to tell me what I feel. Maybe I don't need this to look like it did before. If I can stay with myself, I don't need more. I don't need to fix you, I don't need to try, I don't need to carry what you won't look at inside. I was calling it love, but it felt like fear of losing, of breaking, of not having you here. But something is changing, I can finally see. I don't need to hold you to stop losing me. I can sit here beside you and still be with me. No more reaching for something that we used to be. If you stay or you don't, I will finally see I was never abandoned. I just left me. So tonight I won't fix this, I won't run, I won't ask what this means. I'll just stay with this breath, this body, this quiet, and this heart still beating.